Jon Sicotte, Executive Editor of Brewer. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer Podcast here on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure you're liking and subscribing and following along that way as we update it almost every single week. And of course, you can go to brewermag.com at any time to see your business resource needs. We are sponsored by Keg Logistics. You can go to keglogistics.com/brewermag for more details. Well, fresh hop season is almost here, and the opportunity to brew with freshly harvested hops, well, it isn't just limited to just the Pacific Northwest. As growers head into the 2026 season and harvest is here, we here at Brewer want to take a look at what this year's crop could mean for you, the brewers, including what varieties are generating some excitement, how breweries across the country can take advantage of both fresh and wet hops as we start getting into this season. Today, we're talking with Sam Pecoraro, who's the brewmaster at Von Ebert Brewing in Portland, Oregon. He's also the Oregon Grower Relations Ambassador for the Hop Quality Group. So got a chance to talk to him and get into the harvest, the challenging hop market, tips for brewing with fresh hops, and some creative ways that breweries can turn harvest season into an opportunity for their own business. Check it out. Here's Sam on the Brewer Podcast. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. And we're joined here on the Brewer Podcast with Sam Pecoraro, who's brewmaster at Von Ebert Brewing in Portland, along with being the Oregon Grower Relations Ambassador for the Hop Quality Group. Sam, thanks for joining us on the Brewer Podcast.
How's it going, John? Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. And I meant to pull up the email that I originally got from you guys, and so I'll kind of stumble through this and I'll look for it after our first question. But we are going to talk about kind of the hop harvest is coming up. In fact, funny enough, I was just texting with one of the breweries here in the Toledo, Ohio area. Our homebrew club is going to use some of the whatever hops they don't end up going through that they're growing right on their property, and they just wanted to see if obviously they just want some help, and we're going to help them and and do some fresh hop beers ourselves here coming up in just a few weeks. So you guys are hearing and seeing from growers so far. What are you excited about this year's crop in the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah, overall seems like a pretty good crop year. Again, I'm not a grower, so this is all secondhand info
Right.
coming from a brewer's perspective, but seems like a little bit of bug pressure earlier in the year, a couple of split blooms, so had a little bit of heat that kind of pushed some flowering a little bit early. That's on a couple of the common offenders like Centennial. I think I heard maybe from one grower that actually happened to Citra, which is a little bit weird. But overall, quality seems to be fantastic. Timing seems to be about spot on. So really, I think I'm just mostly excited that it's a fairly uneventful year. We've had very few uneventful years over the last 10 years, so it's nice to have a little bit of normalcy.
Sure. And this is going off of I had gotten this release from Ramsey Cox, who does stuff for the Oregon hop growers and other organizations too. But Oregon hop growers see fantastic quality in 2026. The volume of hop acreage stayed relatively flat, but growers and brewers are excited about the quality of this year's harvest. It was the headline, and the Oregon Hop Growers Association, mentioning there, in the press release about good aroma, good flavor is on the way. What does that actually mean as a brewer's perspective for that?
Yeah, well, one, it gets us excited for selection, right? It means
Yeah.
that you're probably not going to have to be hunting for those lots that'll work for you, right? There's high quality across the board. Very likely going to, see tables at selection where we've got, 3 to 6 lots on the table, and 5 of them are fantastic and will work just great. So, really excited for that, to have a lot of good high quality hops out there. It means fresh hop season is going to be really fun. Fresh hops, a lot of juggling for brewers and making sure that we're hitting that timing just right. And when quality's coming in fantastic, it means there's going to be a lot of really high quality fresh hop beers out there. So that's going to be fun to taste through in a couple weeks here.
Sure, sure. Like what like how are the conversations going for you right now because of the fact that it is coming to that time, and you do you just block out like a brew schedule and think, okay, well, they're thinking this, so we're probably going to brew on this day. Like how do you even schedule a brew day when, you're trying to put a regular production schedule out? Like how kind of hectic does it get for you?
Yeah, our director of operations, Eric Ebel, he does a fantastic job of this every year. And really, it's coming up with contingency plans and having multiple growers that you can work with.
Mhm.
Um, especially when you're trying to get a little fancy and maybe use some hops that there's not a ton of acreage for, right? So we've won a couple years in a row at Oregon Beer Awards with a fresh hop hazy called Sector 7, and we use Crush in
Mhm.
that beer, fresh hop Crush. And driving up to Yakima for that one, it's a 6 hour round trip drive. Going down to Willamette Valley is only an hour and a half round trip for most of the farms,
Mm.
and there's not much acreage of it. So it's been really tricky for a couple of years to try and make sure that we're timing that spot on. And if the grower isn't, ready to harvest that day, then we're going to have to shift the brew schedule. But
Yeah.
in Willamette Valley, we might have the option of, if the grower isn't ready to pick that day, there might be another farm right nearby that we've also gone and rubbed some hops at and said, oh, this is our backup plan. We'll scoot over there instead. So
Nice.
really just kind of judging how long harvest is, where you want those hops within that harvest, and then having backup plans.
The question I'm going to ask is, what does the hop market say to you right now? But this is obviously going off of, I read hop queries from Stan Hieronymus recently, where he's been
Mhm.
mentioning this in the press release that I had gotten from you guys. After several years of declining hop acreage, the overall U.S. acreage is essentially flat when it comes to it. I mean, what does that say about what the hop market is right now?
Well, there needed to be a huge correction. I mean, there were gigantic inventories, and to have it flat tells me that we're heading in the right direction. This wasn't a 1 year correction that needed to happen. This has happened over like 4 to 5 years at this point.
Hmm.
So being flat means that it's actually worked, and that those corrections and inventory that needed to happen are actually starting to happen. It also probably is a indicator of brewery openings and closings kind of leveling out.
Hmm.
I don't know how many years behind that would be, but probably several. Yeah, I think that's a good indicator. It makes for a little bit more normalcy and predictability.
Do you feel that it's getting healthier, from your perspective of when it comes to ordering or needing, and knowing what your supply and what the demand out there is, like not as hectic as maybe it was 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think well, let me say this. It probably wasn't. It wasn't very hectic for the brewer. It was very hectic for suppliers and for growers.
Hmm.
So I don't think the brewers had to really deal with a ton over the last 5 years. It's mostly been on the other side of the supply chain.
Gotcha. Um, now let's talk about fresh hops. And the fact that you do have these coming up. Are there some hops that are just better suited for fresh hops than others? Like, is it? And obviously, I know timing is going to be a part of this because it's like, okay, the first ones available are the ones that you kind of want to be able to celebrate with. But do you have your arsenal of what you like to work with?
Yeah, absolutely, John. There's no way I'm gonna uh, pick on any particular hops and tell you that we don't like using them. Uh, because a lot of those hops are fantastic for other reasons, right? Or are amazing hops that can be used in a ton of different ways. We tend to, well, let me start here. We don't really have a preference for hot side versus cold side.
Mm.
We just like to kind of do what's best for the individual hop and the individual beer, right? So some
Mhm.
more sulfur forward hops might actually, if you're putting them into a beer where you don't want a lot of sulfur, that actually might work a little bit better hot side. And then just kind of finding, that target window for when you want to release, right? Like there's a ton of beers that come out, I don't know, probably within like 10 days of today.
Yeah.
And those are those really early harvest hops that, that they can make great beer. Um, But what we do, sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. I'm getting excited about harvest season. Uh, what we do tend to be high impact hops that work well in beers that we already make. So
Mm,
we tend to take core brands like Volatile Substance, our Northwest IPA. It's our top selling beer. Very Mosaic and Citra forward. So we tend to use Mosaic or Citra fresh hop in that beer to kind of marry into the components that are already there. With Sector 7, our another core brand, hazy IPA, we use Crush because we just think it brings a really unique character to that beer. There's no crush in it other than that, but it seems to work very well.
gotcha. So those are probably the varieties that you have at the top of your list. Is there anything new that you've, kind of get a chance to get at that? Maybe the rest of the country is not going to see right away. I know there's always new numbers, new experimentals, or maybe something that finally is blossoming a little more and able to get a little bit more out. Like, what are you excited about? Like you said, you're losing your
Oh
train of
yeah,
thought and you're ready for some stuff.
no, yeah, some really cool stuff. So Crush is now being grown in Oregon,
Hmm.
not just in Washington. So really excited about that. There wasn't enough for us to get any fresh hop in Oregon this year, but we're looking forward to that next year and giving that a shot. Seeing if it's much different than what's being grown up there. Um, yeah, a lot of people are making some really cool hops with some of the uh, smaller acreage hops. Shout out to Indie Hops. They've got some really cool ones. Had some awesome Luminosa, some really good like Lorien fresh hop beers, particularly in lagers. Ton of suppliers and hop breeding programs out there that are making some really unique things.
Just in case there is someone that hasn't done a wet hop beer, first time picking things up in the morning, brewing that afternoon and getting ready. How do you prepare for that? Like, what is something that almost anyone that's never done it doesn't do it the first time and they're like, crap, I should have done this. Like, what's the preparation that you feel is important for a brewery before they start brewing that day?
I would quadruple check with your grower to make sure that your hops are actually going to be ready. Especially if you're doing a beer hot side, you know, timing is everything, right? And you want to make sure you get those hops right back to the brewery, and however you're going to use them, if that's in the louder ton, kind of as a post boil addition, which a lot of people do. Yeah, you got to get that timing right. So just triple checking with the grower, making sure that um, that the hops are going to be ready, and then definitely planning for a little bit of extra cleanup as well. Um, it's a lot more work than a regular turn for a brew house.
Sure. How about obviously you guys get, the spoils of it being so close. And I know there's breweries out there that literally plane hop from, I think the guys in Denver do that. They'll jump
Oh
on a
yeah,
plane, fly out, grab it, fly back and brew that day. Ohio does have, obviously we have some Michigan hops nearby, so I know we can kind of get that. But if there's someone that is, I guess, landlocked away from having that opportunity to really do it in the first day. I mean, how do you capture that excitement of harvest season? Do you think there's so many ways now? Like, what do you kind of lean towards if someone's asking you that's not able to just go and pick that day? This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.
oh yeah. There's a ton of options out there right now, and I'm not overly romantic about this. I don't think you have to do it one way, and you're only allowed to call it a fresh hop if
Sure.
you do X, Y, and Z, or you put them in the back of your truck. Like there's a lot of ways to capture the essence of the harvest season and what fresh hop beers should smell and taste like. There's so many products out there. I know. Shout out to Crosby Hops and YCH. They both have products that take fresh whole leaf and grind them up and freeze them, which makes transportation a lot easier. And you really do get a ton of that fresh hop aroma in those
Mm.
beers. Had some fantastic ones. Um, I know there's also suppliers that are air freighting. Um, I'm pretty sure you can get hops within, I don't know, 12 hours, 20 hours, something like that now. So that's another option. That might not be as doable for, a brewery in Florida versus a brewery in, Utah, but,
Mhm.
it is an option. Yeah, there's a lot out there, a lot of fun stuff.
I was, again, I love reading Stan Hieronymus's hop queries. And
Yeah,
he
always
mentioned,
great.
yeah, he mentioned that citrus climbing again, Centennial has surpassed Cascade. And then you get, like you talked about, Crush, Dulcita's another one. Are there varieties and trends you think that the industry should be paying attention to when it comes to these hops moving around, or what is the key this fall for harvest, do you think?
I think my advice there would be to give things a few years. Don't go hopping on, and over contracting for something that you don't really have a good feel for. I think a
Yeah.
lot of hops come out and we don't have a great feel for them until the acreage is actually, in a sustainable spot. But one that we do know is going to be pretty hot and has proven itself already is Thora. That was released in October, and that
Hmm.
was part of the Hop Quality Group's partnership with the USDA and Corvallis. Really cool, big tropical hop that's now grown in all three states. That's one that we're excited about.
Funny enough, that's exactly what I was just going to ask you about. I was going to ask you about Thora. So you're reading my notes for me, so thanks.
Yeah.
It is, I think, like you said, it's worth giving some valuable tank space to. Like, what about it is going to make it that kind of new hot hop this fall?
Oh man, the thiols are just off the charts. Both in sensory, just huge, big tropical ripe fruit. Both in sensory and analysis. Yeah, and I think it's shown itself to be pretty agronomically stable at this point. Yields are decent. It's a good hop for growers. It's a great hop for brewers. So it kind of hits both those notes. It's not a hop that is a very high yielder that nobody wants to use, and it's not
Mhm.
a hop that's a very low yielder that everybody wants to use. It kind of hits that middle ground where it's a sustainable hop for everybody.
Nice. Obviously, fresh hop season usually means IPAs, but it has changed lately. Like, I see a lot more pilsners, a lot, just lagers in general. I mean, do you see that trend continuing to go, or do you think there's something that maybe isn't out that people aren't thinking about when they're making a fresh hop beer?
So we tried making a fresh hop American stout for a couple years, and it was
I was
such
going
a
to ask about
dud,
stouts.
such a dud. Nobody wanted it, and we thought it was pretty cool. It was a really neat beer. And I think we used Talus in it one year. The other year I can't remember what, but I think it's important for brewers to keep pushing the limits and try new things, but that doesn't mean it's going to resonate with the consumer. We do know that pilsners and lagers resonate with the consumer. I mean, every brewery, especially in the Portland area, is really focusing on those, and sales are up across the board. So we know that's going to work with fresh hop beers. Um, you just got to keep trying new things and see what people like. The consumer gets a vote.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the consumers obviously are, the kind of the end goal of this, and making sure that you're making something that they want. How is it scarcity marketing? Because obviously you're making something very limited. You want it to sell as fast as possible. Like, how do you plan your, like, okay, I know we have this amount of hops, so obviously we can make this amount of beer. That doesn't mean you have to make that much beer, right? Have
Yeah.
you guys scaled back when it comes to that, so that you don't have something 6, 8 weeks later? Drink it fresh, drink it now, and move on.
Yeah, we've kind of done it in two ways, right? The first way is what you just said, right? Pulling back on volume a little bit. We'll sell out of whatever amount of fresh hop beer we make, to an extent, I guess. But the big thing for us has always been release timing. We have really favored varieties and processes that tend to push the beer into a little bit of a later release. And
Mm.
this year we've really decided to push that a little bit more to the beginning of harvest. There's just this gigantic spike in sales in late August. And if you drag that release out to late September, you're going to kind of be behind the ball a little bit. So, fresh hop volatile that we've made for years and years here. Uh, Sometimes it's come out at the beginning of October, and while it sells well, it's just like, there's in any tap room in Portland, there's like 12 fresh hop beers on, and if you're the last one to get tapped, the consumer might be moving on to new things already. So yeah,
Gotcha.
just turning those two knobs, time and volume, I guess.
Yeah. What's new with you guys otherwise? I mean, first off, how many fresh hop beers are you guys planning, for this fall? And then, kind of what else is on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, we've always done I don't know, somewhere between probably 3 and 5. This year we're only doing two,
Mm.
but really focusing on a volatile substance with Simcoe, which is something we've never done. We've always really focused on Mosaic with that beer, so we're
Hmm.
really excited to kind of put a new combination out there, and then we're going to bring back Sector 7 with Crush again.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, that's kind of some of I think it's always important, and I've never had a chance on the podcast, to kind of have it timed out right to talk about this before things hit, because I always hate like interviewing people in the heat of it, and then all of a sudden, by the time you get to watch it, the season's already pretty much over. So, kind of, I
Yeah,
appreciate you jumping on early with us as these things are gonna, be ramping up here at the end of August. So, I appreciate you taking the time to talk fresh hops with me.
yeah, absolutely, fun time.
Cool. Well, I like to end things a little more fun though. Obviously, the hops is fun. This one's not as business heavy, I would think, as sometimes we get into it. But I do like to end with some levity. So I got three questions. They're kind of goofy. Get to know you a little bit. So we'll get on this first one. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made in brewing that you can laugh about now?
Oh man, this one's great. So I was working for a brewery called the Commons Brewery. This was back in, I don't know, 2014 maybe, sometime around there. And I left to go to my wedding and flew across the country, went and got married, and I left a beer carbonating overnight. So the rest of the crew came in the next day, and the PRV was blowing and beer was coming out the top. So yeah, that's
Oh
good.
wow.
I'm glad I told everybody that on a podcast. That's nice. It was 12 years ago
Yeah, you're forgiven now, I think. I
though.
think
Yeah,
you're good.
thanks.
If you were stranded on a desert island but could only bring one weird item from within your brewery, what would you be taking with you?
Water filter.
Nice. That'd be a good one. The important one for a desert
Huh?
island.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Last one. This one's always fun. The crust, the sauce, the cheese, or the toppings. What in your mind makes a good pizza?
Hmm. Okay, so Portland used to not be a very good pizza town, and
Okay.
now I think we're like one of the best pizza cities in the entire world. It's incredible. We've got a ton of great pizzerias here in so many different styles. So I'm just like kind of rifling through my Rolodex of local pizzerias right now. Um, I would say I'm not a big fan of toppings,
Okay.
and I think the crust is really what differentiates a lot of these styles. So I'm
Yep.
gonna go with crust.
That's exactly. It used to be the toppings for me. And now, yeah, now that we make pizza at home, like the amount of thought and process we put into like creating good pizza dough, like not just buying it from the store. Like that's what we started with, and then we're like, wait, we could probably do this. And with YouTube and TikTok, like you can find all this information. And then I took my wife to New York, well, to the last two falls, and she's just fallen in love with the slice, from New York. She wants that crust, and obviously it's like then we're starting, it's just like brewing. You're getting into the water
It's
profiles and you're like
exactly like
creating.
brewing.
It's so
Yep.
much fun. So, well, awesome. I'm glad that we're on the line there, and we'll have to grab a beer and a pizza together sometime and continue that conversation. So, Sam,
Would
I
love that.
appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thanks so much, John. Have a good one.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.